Good evening, guys. How is everybody's Sunday going? Happy Sunday to everybody. Hope everybody, had a great Sunday. Maybe went to church, maybe spent time with family, had a family dinner, all that good stuff. Well, I was lazy. I was lazy this Sunday. It was rainy, it was dreary, it was, all that good stuff here in North Carolina. I don't know, where my audience is at. Tell me how the weather was where y'all was at, because it was rainy and very cloudy here, and it actually got dark like at 6 something, and I'm thinking, like, I'm asking my oldest daughter, like, did time already go back an hour? Because it was like getting dark, and she was like, you gotta look at the fact that it's raining and it's cloudy, and I'm like, okay then. But anyways, guys, this is going to be a little bit of a different vibe that I'm bringing to you tonight. My oldest daughter gave me the idea. I know I have done, this is Miss Melania right here. This is my 7-year-old that is not wanting to go to sleep right now, but eventually she will. But, anyways, guys, like I was saying, it's going to be a different series. It is that I'm bringing to you, and it's going to be in a different, a category of its own. This is going to be children that murder. Now, I have done, a few, videos on children that was murdered, was like murdered, like Gabriel Fernandez, for example. But this is kids that murder, like basically other kids, or murder their parents, or something in that category. Yeah, guys, kids do have evil minds. Evil minds. Wonder what this was thinking behind me. Yeah, I think it's probably like, if I could hit that, I would. Nah. Anyways, guys, with no further ado, let's get into this. Let's go. Okay, guys, we are going to start off with Adam Campbell, which they actually call him Evil Campbell at the beginning. Alright, guys, let's get into this. Okay, Evil Campbell snatched a 6-year-old Alicia McPhail from her bed as she visited her dad and her grandparents on the Isles of Burt, Scotland, last July. Lord, and he was only what? They didn't say his age? 16. The 16-year-old he kidnapped, raped, and murdered the 3'9" youngster, causing tremendous amounts of injury before dumping her body in a woodland on the island. Alicia, a smiley little girl who was adored by her family, was later discovered face down and naked at the sites by a member of the public. A court heard she had 117 separate injuries, guys. Oh my God, can you only imagine this little 6-year-old girl, guys, and 117 separate injuries done to this 16-year-old. Inflicted 117 separate different injuries to this little 6-year-old girl, guys. Can you only imagine what this baby went through? Can you only imagine? God. Campbell, who lived on the scenic and sparsely populated island, was yesterday found guilty of kidnapping, rape, and murder by jurors. Judge Lord Matthews told the teenager he had committed some of the wickedest, most evilest crimes some high courts had ever heard. He was found guilty of the horrific crime on February 21st. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. I would think he should be done the same way, to be honest with you. Anyways, guys, let's move on. This is Danny and Ricky Pretty? I probably butchered that, but it's all right. They were 13 and 12 years old, guys. This happened in 2000. Only a third trial where teenage boys Danny and Ricky was jailed for killing 10-year-old Demalia Taylor. We're gonna call her young Taylor, okay? The young boy was walking home from Pinkham Library in southeast London on a November day in 2000 when he received a gash to his left thigh from a broken bottle, as caught on CCTV. Star Wars actor John Boyega and his sister Grace were some of the last people to be spotted on the CCTV footage with Damalia while escorting him on the way home. The three were friends, and the Begoyas helped watch him. We're just going to call him Dahlia, ran to a stairwell and bled to death in 30 minutes in the grim surroundings. Several theories around that caused his fatal wounds were presented by forensic scientists in court, with the Metropolitan Police accepting that he was attacked and fell onto a broken bottle. The first trial led to an acquittal after the key witness, a 14-year-old girl, was ruled unreliable by the judge. The jury in the second trial could not reach a verdict on the charges of manslaughter. At the end of the third trial, the two brothers, by now over 18 years old, was sentenced to 8 years in youth custody. Really, guys? 8 years for killing somebody probably just for the hell of it? I know you don't like it when you cuss, but hell's in the Bible. So, it just depends on which way you use it. In this way, I'm using it in the evil way. Because Ricky was released in 2010, and Danny followed the next year. The Molia story was made into a 2016 BBC drama, Our Loved Boy. Okay, next is Eric Smith, who was 12. I heard of this one, guys, actually. This happened in 1993. Eric Smith killed 4-year-old Derek Roby, who he came across in a park while riding his bike through a local park in the I cannot pronounce that county. This happened in New York. 13-year-old Eric Smith bumped into 4-year-old Derek Roby, who was walking alone. I remember this story, guys, because his mom usually always walked little Derek Roby to his class, or to like this little camp he was at. It wasn't too far from his house. It was not far at all from his house, actually. She used to walk, she said she walked him every day there, and for that day, she had a newborn baby, and it was really fussy he was. So, Derek was wanting to be a big boy and told his mom that it was okay, Mama, I'll walk, and I'd be careful, Mom probably went over all, the cautionary tales that mom tell their kids, and, let little Derek Roby walk on, not knowing that would be the last time she would see her son alive. But, unfortunately that was, and it was sad. Let's read on. Smith lured the small boy into a wooded area, strangled him, dropped 2 large rocks on his head, and then sodomized the body with a tree limb. What 13-year-old boy could think of even sodomizing, or can think of anything like this, guys? Where does this come from? Obviously he had to see this, or he had to hear about this. He had to somewhere, because 13 years old and know about sodomizing, or, doing something anally to somebody that is rough. Yeah, guys, that part. Anyways, he was eventually convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to the maximum term then available for juvenile murderers, a minimum of 9 years to life in prison. I hope he gets life, because that's what he deserved. He has been refused parole 8 times since 2001 and will next be up in 2018. In 2005, Smith claimed that his family life was abusive and that the effect upon him was as devastating as the bullying. So Yeah, Eric Smith was bullied a lot because I remember seeing a picture of him. He was this little, he had like little kind of bushy, like curly red hair, sprinkled all over his face. You know, he was bullied for looking different, you know, for looking like that, and maybe for the way he acted, he probably acted different. But still, that is no excuse for murder. To be bullied, no excuse at all for, you know, to be murdered. Because when I went to school, there was kids that was bullied, but knock on something, they did not turn into murderers. They actually turned out to be very wise, productive, educated, professional people. They turned out to be better than me and, you know, the bullies that bully them, because now the bullies that bully them are, you know, convicts. I'm just being honest with you, but yeah, no, bullying is not an excuse to murder, guys. None at all. However, his inability to express emotion while saying such words leads court psychologists to believe that Eric Smith could never be fully rehabilitated and released into society. In that case, we would keep him behind bars. Yeah, to keep all the other little kitties safe. Okay, now this is Lionel Tate, who was 12 years old. This happened in 1999. Lionel Tate was 13 when he killed a 6-year-old Tiffany Urich. Lionel Tate is the youngest American citizen ever to be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Tate was left alone with his 6-year-old Tiffany Urich, who was being babysat by his mother, Catherine Gossett Tate. That's a long one. Okay. After 45 minutes of playing with the little girl, Tate told his mom that she wasn't breathing because he had her in a headlock and slammed her head on the table. So this child, who was 12, he knows better than to put a little, basically a baby, into a headlock and slam her head against the table. He should know better than to do that. I mean, come on now. Where was the mother at when this happened? She was supposed to be babysitting. Where the hell was she at? Guys, I mean, come on. In fact, the injuries range from a lacerated liver to a fractured skull, broken ribs, and swollen brain. So he did more damage than what he told his parents that he done. The prosecution said her injuries was consistent with those she would have sustained falling 3 stories, guys, to the ground. So, no, it did not come from just putting her in a headlock and slamming her head against the table. More happened here. She was beaten and probably kicked and everything else. And there was more done there. Okay, Tate had stomped on the little girl until she succumbed to her injuries. His last sentence was extremely controversial as he was so young to receive such a long sentence. And who gives a damn? He deserves it. Sorry, guys, but yeah. The prosecution even joined the plea for leniency in sentencing and offers to help with Tate's appeal. The conviction was overturned in 2004 on the basis that his mental capacity had been completely evaluated before the trial. He was released 1 year. He was released 1 year on house arrest and 10 years probation. He has committed to further crimes since and is currently serving 10 years in prison. He is due for release in 2018. Go figure. We knew he was going to commit more crimes. At least it wasn't murder. My lord. Okay. This is Joshua Phillips. He was 14 years old. This happened in 1998. Joshua Phillips was sentenced to life in prison for killing 8-year-old Maddie Clifton. And I read about this one too, guys. This one grossed me out to the max. Like, I'm going to read it to you guys just in case y'all have not heard it, okay? I'm not trying to be, a spoiler. So, anyways, Joshua Phillips was allegedly playing with a baseball bat at home in Jacksonville, Florida, when he struck 8-year-old Maddie Clifton in the eye, causing it to bleed. Phillips claimed he panicked, fearing his father's reaction, so he strangled her with a phone cord and stabbed her 11 times. God, if he panicked, then why the overkill? Why are you strangling this little girl with the phone cord and stabbing her 11 times? What's up with the overkill? What was up with the kill in the first place? I would rather take the punishment that my father lashed out other than killing another human being, knowing that I'm going to go to jail. At least if you get your ass whooped, at least you still, Maddie will be alive and you would still be out of jail. Right, guys? I think I would take the ass whooping. I mean, he then hid her body in the pedestal of his waterbed, where his mother discovered it a week later. While the autopsy did not reveal any sexual assault, Maddie's body was found nude from the waist down. The thing was, guys, that he hid Maddie into his waterbed, and the only thing that gave it away is whenever his mother noticed a leak coming from his waterbed, and it was beginning to smell like death in his room, basically, and this leak, and that's when it was discovered. And yes, his mom was the one that turned him in. Great mother, and that was what you call a great mother. If you was to see your child do something like that, would you turn them in, or what would you do? Leave me a comment in the section below. Let me know, because I would. I'm sorry, but I would. I mean, because if my child goes out here and he decides he wants to murder somebody just for the hell of it, or just because he hit her with a baseball bat or something, and then he want to put her up in her waterbed, hell yeah, I'm telling, yeah. Guys, tell me what y'all would have done in this situation if your child, was, you caught your child murdering somebody and you found the murdered body. What would you do? Leave me a comment in the section below. Okay, the murder appears to have been motivated by Philip's fear of an abusive father, who would have been very angry had he found Maddie hurt at their house. Phillips, who had no history of violence, was charged as an adult with murder. He was found guilty of murder in the first degree and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Which, he did have an abusive father. I can understand that. No, I can understand being scared of the punishment that he's going to lash out. But at the same time, that little girl, though, you shouldn't have murdered her, you could easily have sent her home, and just took the punishment. That's the way. I know he was an abusive father. I understand that, but at the same time, it didn't warrant for murder. It's no excuse for murder. Next up is Craig Price, who was 15. This happened in 1989. Excuse me, guys. Craig Price became known as the Warwick Slasher for his horrific crimes. Craig Price had become a serial killer before the age of 16. Oh my God. With capital letters. Having killed 4 people in his Rhode Island neighborhood on the east coast of the USA. Age 13 in 1987, Price broke into the house 2 doors down from his own and stabbed 27-year-old Rebecca Spencer 58 times, guys. 58 times. How in the hell, at age 13, did he even manage to control a 27-year-old woman? It had to be in her sleep. Had to be. And he stabbed her 58 times, killing her. He did not become a suspect in that case into confessing to the murder 2 years later, after he went on to kill 3 other neighbors, guys, while he was high on marijuana and LSD. I was getting ready to say, marijuana don't make you like that, but LSD, maybe. I had never tried LSD, but I know marijuana doesn't make you like that. Marijuana usually just makes you really drowsy and, relaxed. LSD, I don't know. Never tried it. Don't want to. I heard too many people, doing crazy junk on that. The victims, 39-year-old Joan Hilton, and her daughters, Jennifer, 10, and Melissa, 8, were stabbed over 30 times each. My God. Their wounds were so deep that the handles broke off the knife, leaving the blade embedded into the victims, guys. That is how much force that was put into killing these women, killing these young girls. There was so much force put into it that the handle came off. Whenever the bodies were found, the blade was still embedded into the victims. Yeah, guys, that part. In court, Price nonchalantly mimicked the dying cries of the Hilton girls, displaying no emotion whatsoever, even as he related such grim details as biting the face of one of the victims as he stabbed her. What fucking... Oh, guys, I hope you judge me on that, but what freaking kind of 13-year-old or 16-year-old, however old he was, what kind of young mind thinks of this? Biting their faces and, mimicking their cries for help? Guys, oh my God. Price refused a court order to undergo further psychological testing, fearing the results would be used to commit him for life. Instead, he was jailed for 25 years, but his violent behavior behind bars makes it unlikely he will ever be released. I hope and pray to God that he is not released, because I don't think there's no really rehabilitating this man. I don't see it. I don't see it. Well, at the time when the commercial, he was a boy, but now he's a man. I don't see it. I don't see it, guys. Next up is Alyssa Bustamante. I'm pretty sure we all heard of this case. She was 15 years old. This happened in 2009. Alyssa wrote about the killing in her diary, calling it, quote, pretty enjoyable. Pretty enjoyable, guys. Pretty enjoyable. Alyssa Bustamante lured her 9-year-old neighbor Elizabeth Oten into the woods, where she strangled her, then slit her throat and wrist before burying her in a shallow grave. Guys, sick. Bustamante, a Midwestern state, Missouri, was a troubled teenager who had a history of depression, self-harm, and suicide attempts. Well, maybe she took her own life. Well, God, let me take that back. Nobody, deserves, I understand being depressed. I understand, on suicide attempts, because I'm not going to lie, I had 3 of them myself. I think there might have been 4. I do know that 2 of them were very fatal. They did not give me, I had one was a 15% chance to live, and the other one they did not think I was even coming back from. But, obviously they knew she was troubled. They knew that she needed help. Why was she not getting help, guys? Why was this teenager not getting the help that she needed? And guys, let's just go on and read. Quote, I just effing killed someone. I strangled them and slit their throats and stabbed them. Now they're dead. I don't know how to feel at the moment, Bustamante wrote in her diary. Obviously, she was proud of what she done. She was boasting about it. She was priding herself on it. Sickening, just sickening. She later added, quote, it was amazing. As soon as you get over that, oh my God, I can't do this feeling, it's pretty enjoyable. I'm kind of nervous and shaky though right now. Okay, I gotta go to church now, LOL, unquote. This bitch just killed somebody. Just killed this little girl. And now she's talking about, I gotta go to church now. LOL. As if it's some kind of game. As if it's some kind of like... Guys, Elizabeth's mother, Patty Perius, called Bustamante an evil monster and said that she hated her on the first day of the teenager's sentencing hearing. Rightfully so. I would probably done more. I would probably jumped over the pen and would just be like, what the F was on your mind? Why did you kill my child? You know? Alyssa was charged with first-degree murder and tried as an adult, getting a life sentence with the possibility of parole. And that should be in without the possibility of parole, but they're going to give her parole somewhere down the line. Probably. I hope not. For society's dangum safety. Next is Jesse Pomeroy, 11 years old. This happened, whoa, guys, in 1871. We're just going to call him Jesse because I cannot pronounce. I'm butchering these last names. Jesse started killing at the age of 11. The son of a Civil War veteran, Jesse was born in Boston in 1859. By the age of 11, he had begun luring younger boys to remote areas and beating them with extreme brutality using his fist, a belt, and a knife. This guy. In 1872, he was finally arrested for the ongoing attacks and sentenced to reform school. The Boston Globe covered the story, and the last line of the article said, quote, "It is generally conducted that the boy is mentally deficient." Guess so. In 1874, what was his name? He was living back with his family and attacked 10-year-old Mary Cullen, then later 4-year-old Horace Mullen. He killed both guys, I'm so tongue-tied, youngsters, and their bodies were later found hidden in the basement of the house. They had been slashed, stabbed, and decapitated. God, decapitated with a knife. Yeah, this guy was found guilty of murder in the first degree and sentenced to death by hanging. However, 2 years later, in 1876, his sentence was commuted to life in solitary. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Next up is Morgan Liebert. We're just going to call him Morgan, who was 15. This happened in 2009. Morgan killed a prisoner while she was just a child. Morgan, her 22-year-old boyfriend at the time, Toby Lee Lowry, was convicted of the brutal murder of James Stewart, 62, in his own Florida home. Stewart was found lying on the floor of his Florida home after being stabbed multiple times with metal rods and a knife and suffocated with a plastic bag over his head. Straight freaking brutality. I mean, this was straight overkill, guys. I mean, In the police tapes, she told detectives, quote, "My boyfriend told me to stab him. I poked him. It didn't even go through, for God's sake." For God's sake. Nah. See, I could not be a detective. I could not do it because I'd be done slapped someone. Nah. As if it doesn't even matter. Like, you know, like, girl, you just killed somebody. Do you not comprehend what you just did? Obviously not. She places most of the blame of it on her ex-boyfriend, obviously, who testified against her in court in order to avoid the death penalty. So she got what she deserved anyway. The pair claimed that they killed Stewart to steal his car. To steal his car, guys. They killed him to steal his car when all they probably had to do was ask the man for his car, and the man would probably gave him this car. Crazy, guys. Next up is Willie Baskett. Willie Baskett's light sentence changed the law for trying juveniles in New York. William Baskett was born in Harlem, New York, to a father who killed 2 people shortly after his son was conceived, and thereafter spent his life in prison. It sure did. The apple didn't fall far from the tree, did it? Baskett's Jr. was held. Baskett Jr. was in and out of trouble growing up, a violent child, and wore this as a badge of honor, telling juvenile authorities that he would be a killer just like his father. So he thought it was cool to be a killer, like a badge, like a Boy Scout badge. Like yeah, you know, I'm going to kill this one, I'm going to kill that one, you know, I'm going to be a killer one day. Watch. That's exactly what he told the authorities. I mean, the authorities should take him seriously, probably, and put him away somewhere, like in a mental hospital or something, because obviously this dude had mental issues. But he committed his first murder when he was 15 years old, shooting and killing 2 men during separate robbery attempts. He also killed a transport worker before the police got to him. He was tried as a minor and was given 5 years in a youth facility, a sentence seen as extremely light. Way too light, guys. 5 years for 3 murders. 5 years. Nah. The outcry against his sentence led to the Juvenile Offender Act of 1978, which ruled that children as younger as 13 will be tried in New York's adult courts for crimes as serious as murder and receive the same penalties as an adult. Then why wasn't he? He was only sentenced to 5 of my understanding. Upon release at age 20, Baskett continued his life of crime, leaving and re-entering jail until receiving a life sentence for an assault and arson while in prison in 1989. Okay, guys, we should know that, right? Mary Bell, who was 11. This happened in 1968. I'm pretty sure everybody heard about Mary Bell. Everybody. But, it said 11-year-old Mary Bell killed 2 small boys, Martin Brown and Brian Howe. On the day before her 11th birthday, Mary Bell lured 4-year-old Martin Brown to an abandoned house in Newcastle, northeast England. 2 months later, she strangled 3-year-old Brian to death. The story of Bell's childhood is particularly brutal. Her mother, Betty, was a prostitute who tried to kill her daughter on more than one occasion, trying to make it look like an accident. Apple don't fall from the tree, like I said. On one such occasion, an independent witness saw Betty giving the pills to her daughter as a sweet. Mary herself says she was subjected to repeat sexual abuse, her mother forcing her from the age of 4 to engage in sexual acts with men. During her trial, court-appointed psychiatrists said Bell displayed classic signs of psychopathy. I can never pronounce that word. Psychopathic, something like that. You understand. The judge described her as a dangerous and still posing a risk to children. After serving her 12-year sentence, Bell was released in 1980 and has lived under a series of, different names since, which has been extended to cover the daughter she had at age 27. So, in our last and least is Joan and Robert Thompson, both 10 years old. This happened in 1993. James, on his 23rd anniversary, killing still destroy his mom, Denise, says husband. Schoolboy killers, John and Robert were locked up for murder. John and Robert became the youngest convicted murderers in England after killing 2-year-old James Burglar in 1993. They abducted the toddler from a shopping center in Bolton, Merseyside, and took him to a disused railway line where they began to torture him. I heard about this one. They threw paint in his eyes, kicked and stomped on him, threw bricks and stones at him, and then dropped a tin kilogram iron plate on him. Where does these young kids come up with these ideas, guys? I don't know. The case pathologist said that there was so many injuries, 42 in total, that not one could be isolated as causing the fatal injury. So they couldn't even figure out all these injuries to this boy's body was so severe and so they couldn't even figure out which one was the fatal blow or which one killed him. That's how bad it was. Yeah, that was crazy. Okay. John Christie and John Ringland Holiday Christie, something like I say, and Ethel Christie and John Christie will be played by Samantha Morton and Tim Robbins. Okay. It was serial killers. Okay. The boys left burglar laid across the railroad tracks with his head way down. After they left the scene, the body was cut in half by a train. So they left him there on the tracks, guys, knowing that a train was going to come eventually. And he was cut in half, guys. A pathologist confirmed that the little boy had died before the train hit him. At the trial and conviction, the now 11-year-old boy was sentenced to serve 15 years. The huge media interest in the trial, as well as their young ages, led to numerous reviews of their sentence, going all the way up to the European Court of Human Rights. The boys was released from prison on license in 2001, age 18, with new identities to protect them for life. That's some bullshit. They should not be able to do that. Whatever happened to him will be ever happen to him. John had been in and out of prison since on charges including accessing child pornography. So yeah, guys, that was 12 of the most evil kids that killed. That I looked up. I'm going to start in this series under, killer kids, just for this, because there are a whole lot more than just these. These are just ones that I pulled up. Anyways, guys, I hope y'all enjoy that. As enjoyable as it can get. Also, I want to give my respects to the families that lost their children due to these children murdering their kids. I am so sorry for y'all's loss. Take a moment of silence for all of them. Okay, guys, remember, love is love, be kind, stay beautiful, and always put God first. I am out of here. I love y'all. I forgot. I love y'all. Now, I'm out of here.